Power does not always roar. Sometimes it stands alone. Ambassador Azira Valen knew this truth better than anyone in the Orion Council. She stood motionless at the edge of the diplomatic atrium, her presence commanding space without effort. The station's gravity was intentionally weakened, designed for fragile species, but Azira felt it like an insult. Her people were born under crushing skies and unforgiving terrain. Weakness was never an option. Below her, delegates drifted in graceful confusion, soft-bodied thinkers, traders, negotiators. None of them could survive where she came from, and they knew it. Their eyes betrayed them. Averted glances, delayed movements, that instinctive pause prey makes when a predator enters the room. Azira had learned to accept it. Respect built on fear was still respect. Yet loneliness is not cured by distance, it grows in it. The council insisted she take a personal security aid after a recent incident. A failed poisoning attempt. The toxin had barely slowed her heartbeat. She entered the interview chamber already bored. The first candidates were predictable. Armored species with reputations for aggression, but their pulses spiked when she stood too close. Others spoke endlessly, filling silence with reassurance. All of them flinched. Then the final candidate entered. He was unremarkable. Human. Average height. No armor. No visible weapons. His name was Daniel Mercer. He did not bow too deeply. He did not rush to speak. He simply stood, calm, attentive, patient. Azira circled him slowly, letting her shadow pass over his face. This usually broke candidates. Raised pulse. Defensive posture. Nothing. She exposed her teeth, a gesture that had ended wars. Daniel merely observed. Then quietly he asked, "Do your canines require specialized care under council medical coverage?" For the first time in years, Azira laughed. Not loudly, but genuinely. "You're hired," she said. Daniel blinked once. Understood. "When do I begin?" As they walked side by side through the station's pale corridors, Azira sensed something unfamiliar. Not fear. Not submission. Something solid. Like a mountain that does not announce itself. Daniel did not behave like a guard. He did not pace. He did not posture. He simply was. Where Azira moved with coiled energy, he conserved. Where she watched for threats through instinct, he measured patterns. He noticed things she didn't, changes in breathing, microgestures, shifts in routine. "Why did you reposition earlier?" she asked one cycle. "The delegate touching his sash," Daniel replied. "Stress response. Could escalate." "You smelled that?" "No. I inferred it." Azira frowned. Humans were supposed to be soft-world thinkers. Diplomatic. Cooperative. Daniel was something else. When a decorative structure collapsed in her quarters, Azira caught it effortlessly, 300 kilograms of crystal arrested midair. Daniel inspected the mount. "Faulty maintenance," he said. "Chemical corrosion. You were never in danger." "You weren't concerned?" "I calculated outcomes." She stared at him. Not in anger, but curiosity. Most beings treated her as a weapon. Daniel treated her as a known variable. Over time she tested him. Stories of hunts. Of battles. Of blood. Daniel listened politely. Then asked about logistics. Medical response time. Environmental conditions. Risk efficiency. It should have offended her. Instead it unsettled her. Because he wasn't impressed. He wasn't afraid. He was prepared. At the Grand Council Gala, when political pressure turned sharp and veiled threats of isolation were spoken, it was Daniel who leaned in and said calmly, "He's bluffing. The numbers don't support his claim." "How do you know?" "I read the voting history." "You read all of it?" "Yes." That was when the lights went out. And gravity vanished. And the attack began. Chaos reveals truth. Mercenaries breached the chamber with precision. Trained, coordinated, confident. Zero gravity made even Azira vulnerable. Her claws struck true, but physics betrayed her. Then Daniel moved. Not fast. Not loud. Certain. His boots locked magnetically. His hands seized a descending weapon and stopped it. Metal groaning under pressure was never meant to endure. "No," he said calmly. What followed was not combat. It was resolution. Daniel did not fight with fury. He fought with economy. Each motion ended something. Bones. Momentum. Threats. He was shot. He continued. Azira watched, stunned, not by strength but by refusal. Humans were not apex predators. They were endurance incarnate. When they escaped into the service corridors, Daniel kept pace. Not by speed but by persistence. His breathing was steady. His stride unbroken. "You should be slowing," she said. "I don't," he replied. They sealed themselves into a reinforced chamber. Daniel bled, but stabilized. His body adapted. Already repairing. "You should be dead," Azira whispered. "I've survived worse." She believed him. And for the first time in her life she did not feel alone. They did not wait to be hunted. They hunted. Daniel turned tools into weapons. Physics into strategy. Environment into ally. Azira became the blade. Together they dismantled a professional force without mercy or waste. When it ended, silence followed. Not relief. Recognition. "You hid this," Azira said. Daniel nodded. "We showed the council what they needed to see. You are not prey. No. And not conquerors. No. Then what are humans?" Daniel considered. Survivors who don't stop. The station was secured. Lives were saved. The narrative rewritten. Heroes. And threats. Afterward, as emergency lights dimmed and the station breathed again, Azira sat beside Daniel in silence. Two beings who understood cost. "Among my people," she said, "bonding requires survival." Daniel smiled faintly. "We've done plenty of that." She studied him, not as a weapon, not as a shield, but as an equal. The council would debate classifications. Policies would change. Power would shift. But one truth remained. Strength is not always dominance. Sometimes it is endurance. Sometimes it is restraint. Sometimes it is knowing when to stand and when to stay. For the first time among the stars, Azira Valen did not walk alone. And the galaxy was quieter for it.